Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cousin Jonathan and Clyde the Rocketman Big Book Study. We're just two sober alcoholics reading, studying, and discussing the Big Book the way Joe and Charlie did back in the day. Let's start with a moment of silence, and our friend Lindsay is going to read the set-aside prayer for us.
God, today help me set aside everything I think I know about you, everything I think I know about myself, everything I think I know about others, and everything I think I know about my own recovery, so I may have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please help me see the truth.
Thank you, Lindsay. So now we all have an open mind. We have no preconceived ideas about step 12 and working with others. We want God to teach us something new today. So we're clean slate, open-minded now. Thank you for that, Lindsay. So in 1973, Joe McHugh introduced Charlie P. as the AA speaker at an Al-Anon convention. Joe and Charlie soon discovered that they both shared a love for the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So traveling between their homes to discuss the Big Book became a regular event. So Clyde and Cousin Jonathan met in the Zoo Crew in 2022, and we discovered that we also share a love for the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So that's what got us started studying the book together. We love it so much, and that's the basis of this podcast. Thanks for being here. We meet every Sunday, 2 o'clock to 3:30 p.m. Eastern in this room. And we ask that you please have your big book handy so you can read along with us and take notes and also underline and highlight as we read and study this book together. We're going to be recording the audio of these meetings, and we share with others on our podcast. So the purpose of this big book study meeting is to help you when meeting with a prospect, now called a sponsee, or talking about sobriety in general because you want to be armed with the facts about yourself and the AA program. Freedom from alcohol comes through taking the 12 steps and working with others. Page 15 of the 12 and 12 says AA's 12 steps are a group of principles, spiritual in their nature, which, if practiced as a way of life, can expel the obsession to drink and enable the sufferer to become happily and usefully whole. How soon do you want to be happy, joyous, and free? So we suggest that you purchase a copy of the Big Book for future use. You'll want to underline, highlight, and write notes. Please order your AA literature directly from AA so that the money goes to Alcoholics Anonymous and to ensure that you get a good copy. So we're not advocating rushing through the steps. We do highly suggest, though, that you have a sense of urgency in taking the 12 steps and having them become a way of life sooner than later. Pretend this is a matter of life and death. Well, guess what? Actually, it is a matter of life and death. So once again, how soon do you want to be happy, joyous, and free? You can go to our website at thezoocrew.org to order your copy of the Big Book, as well as read it online. The Big Book is our basic text and contains the full recipe for recovery. It's impossible to find a loophole in the Big Book that excludes you from being a member of AA. So, okay, let's pick up then where we're at, where we left off last week. We're in chapter 7, working with others. And this whole chapter is about the 12th step. And it starts on page 89. It goes through page 103. It's 14 pages long. We just started. And so last week, we read the first 2 paragraphs. There's some action that we take. I'm just going to summarize before we pick up. We're going to pick up in the middle of the page on the 3rd paragraph, but let's just do a quick recap on what we covered last week. In the first opening line says that practical experience shows that nothing will so much ensure immunity from drinking as intensive work with other alcoholics. It works when other activities fail. And that's a repeat. Bill goes into that in great detail in his story, pages 14 and 15 in the big book. He talks all about this subject. And it really is amazing how well it works. If you want to be ensured immunity from drinking, there's no better way to do it than working with other alcoholics. That is the best way to stay sober. You are ensured immunity from drinking if you do that. So, and it says, this is our 12th suggestion, you can help when no one else can. You can secure their confidence when others fail. So the reason that we can help other people is because we are alcoholic ourselves. That's why we can help other alcoholics, because we understand each other. And again, Bill goes into great detail in this. This is all covered earlier in the book. In Bill's story and in chapter 2, there is a solution, talks about this stuff. So we have this gift now that God has given us, the ability to help other people because of our experiencing it ourselves, and we can relate to each other. And then, so here's one of the, so that's one promise. I'm ensured immunity from drinking. That's beautiful. The other thing is this whole second paragraph is about life taking on new meaning. It really is a rewarding experience working with other people and seeing the lights come on and seeing their relationships improve at home and at work and with their spouses, boyfriends, girlfriends, relationships of all types become much healthier and happier as the result of getting sober and staying sober and working with each other. And it talks about, our life will have a new meaning, and it's an experience that we'll not want to miss. And it's a bright spot in our lives, and it really is. So there's two reasons we are of service. Number one is because it's a life and death matter for us. We have to do it to stay sober. And the other is the benefits are amazing. They're wonderful. They're remarkable. They're miraculous. And can't say enough good things about it. So that's where we're at. Get sober and help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. That's our role in the 12th step. So this book was written during 1938 and 1939. It was published, and there were about 100 people sober by the time it was published. There were about 40 sober people when Bill started writing the book in summer of 1938. And there were about 100 sober by April of 1939 when the book was published. And they realized early on that, hey, we need to get busy working with other alcoholics. So we got to go find some people to work with. This is our life depends on this. And so imagine this is at the very beginning of AA, and they didn't have meetings that so we're going to talk about this. So we're in the middle of page 89. We're going to pick up on the third paragraph, and we need to find people to work with. So Bill's going to give us some instructions here. It says, perhaps you're not acquainted with any drinkers who want to recover. So find these people. You just told us we have to work with others. Where do we find these people? And here he says, you can easily find some by asking a few doctors, ministers, priests, or hospitals. So I want to stop right there. Back then, this is where they had to go to find people, prospects, they called them at the time, people to work with and carry the message to. So as a matter of fact, they found the third alcoholic, Bill Dotson, at a hospital, at the town's hospital. And as a result of Dr. Bob making a phone call down there. So that's how they found the third alcoholic at the hospital. And so, but we nowadays, I'm going to add, it says ask doctors, ministers, priests, or hospitals, or you can find some by going to meetings. Pretty good place to find people. Drinkers who want to recover. Where can I find drinkers that want to recover? number one place that I would suggest nowadays, in this modern time and as of today, is meetings. Just go to a meeting. There's plenty of people there who want to recover. It says they will only be only too glad to assist you. So don't start out as an evangelist or a reformer. Unfortunately, a lot of prejudice exists. You'll be handicapped if you arouse it. It says ministers and doctors are competent, and you can learn much from them if you wish. But it happens that because of your own drinking experience, your own drinking experience, you can be uniquely useful to other alcoholics. So it's your experience and that makes you so valuable to your higher power to go help other alcoholics. It says so to cooperate, never criticize. So you're going to cooperate with these professionals, these psychiatrists and MDs and therapists and stuff, and ministers. You cooperate, don't criticize them. To be helpful is our only aim. Okay, so that's our goal. We've been have this power and ability to help other people, and that is what my higher power wants me to do. I'm pretty sure it's what your higher power wants you to do, so that you can stay sober and you can help other people get sober, and it has that ripple effect, and that just positively impacts so many people's lives. So that's what this is all about, working with others, keeping you sober and getting other people sober. So is everybody familiar with, how often do you go to a meeting and you see people in the fellowship in between the meetings and even during their shares, newer people saying, hey, I need a sponsor. I'm looking for a sponsor. I want to take the 12 steps. I don't know anything about recovery. Please help me. Is there anyone available to sponsor me? That is your cue. That's where you spring into action and put your name and number in the chat. Or if it's a brick and mortar meeting, you talk to them after the meeting and you say, hey, I'll sponsor you. Here's my name. Here's my phone number. Let's take the 12 steps together. I'll take you through the steps so you can find that power that can solve your problem. By the way, that is our purpose, to take people through the 12 steps so they can find that power. It's on page 47. Let me just back up here in my book. Sorry, page 45. And it says, we had to find a power by which we could live, had to be a power greater than ourselves. And it says, where and how are we to find this power? And that's your job with your new prospect or sponsee, is to help them find the power. And how do they do that? It says that's exactly what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem. So by taking them through the 12 steps, they're going to find that power that's going to solve their problem. And in the process, you and your higher power are going to increase the depth of your relationship too. You're going to become increasingly effective, and your spiritual growth is going to go through the roof. The more people you work with, you'll be amazed how effective this is. It's wonderful. So does anybody have any questions or comments or experience with what we've read so far? I would suggest the best place to find drinkers who want to recover is AA meetings. That would be my go-to move. That's what I do. And there's plenty of people there. Okay, Brenda. Yeah, we have 90-second shares here, by the way. And our timer today is Jody. And Brenda's going to come on in and share with us. Hi, Brenda. Come on in.
Hi there. I have 29 days today, and it's really cool. This past week, I did go. I've been going to some outside meetings. I've been doing the zoo crew every day, but I've been getting going to meetings too in my area, and I got to meet a new prospect. And I've been talking with her every day, and it's been keeping me busy. It's been keeping me sober, and I'm loving it, Clyde. It's strengthening me. It's strengthening my willingness and my desire to want to be and continue my sobriety. It's strengthening it, and I'm so grateful, so grateful. But I just want to share that. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Brenda, for sharing that with us. We're so glad you're here and you're following the directions and what's suggested, and you're going to receive the promises come true as the result of doing the work. If we take the action that's indicated, the promises come through. It's that simple. Hey, Mike, come on in.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks, Clyde, for leading the meeting and calling me Mike Alcoholic. Yeah, I think this is my first time, first time in this particular meeting in the second room, but 90-second shares, see if I can get it out. I never thought that I would ever be capable or even want to sponsor anybody in the past. And it wasn't until recently that I have, fallen in love with the prospect. Of course, I got to get through the steps myself, but, I'm pushing farther than I ever have before. And one of the things I've realized is that, looking back at all the sponsors I've had, everybody is just kind of doing the best that they can with what they got or what they know, their own approach, their own personality, and their experience, strength, and hope, and that their experience specifically because, that's the way I'm going to approach it, is how I know it. Of course, the program is the program, and it has all of its foundation and the materials and things. But I can't be afraid to think like I'm not going to do good enough or da 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 da. If I'm willing to help others, that's something that I noticed when I came back in this time, especially with the zoo crew, because it was so focused on those newcomers and new to the program and the fellowship. And immediately I turned around and it was like, keep coming back. We got you. We got it. We're going to do this together. It's a we program. So thanks for letting me share.
Great. Thanks, Mike. We're glad you're here. Thanks for sharing with us. Hi, Kelly. Come on in and share.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. Yeah, I just want to make a comment that, it's a process. I had to get rid of I love that set aside prayer. That's really powerful. It empties me for accepting my mission in life, my goal, and just keep it simple, and the more I stay calm and practice all these things in my life and I had the experience of finding a sober sister, and she struggles. And John said, you can sponsor wherever you're at, whatever step you're at, you help them go through those steps. And that's a powerful place to be, to understand that the more I allow my higher power to transform my motivation to continue to appreciate the gifts that I have and be grateful for where I'm at in order to ease other people's burdens as well and bring them to that same peace and serenity. And that's a lot. That's grace. Like, I have a family who, I have to do this. And I love having simple directions. It's, I have to build my own personal ways I can be in relationships with people that I'm still working with, but I understand that I'm being told and asked, to just be here, suit up and show up and know what I'm talking about when I say, go through the steps, my own personal experiences. So it's powerful, it's magnificent, and it's the meaning of life. I got it. Bingo. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Kelly. Thanks for sharing with us. We're glad you're here. Hi, Lindsay. Come on in and share with us.
Good afternoon, everybody. Lindsay, grateful recovering alcoholic. This whole topic of sponsorship, I love service work. I've taken quite a few sober support phone calls. Usually, well, actually, almost always, if not always, my higher power is there and connected with me within these conversations. I've been saying the fear prayer quite a bit because I think I really am ready to sponsor. And I just need to understand that I have the experience that I do, and that I will be able to take people through these steps. It's just the matter of going and doing it. I've been running the workshops and that type of thing, which is also step 12, taking people through the steps in that way. And this is the next thing. I know how important it is to be able to reach out to other suffering alcoholics. And I think it'll help me learn too, just as much as it's helping them. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Lindsay. Thanks for sharing with us. We're glad you're here. So, okay, let's go ahead and on to the next page 90, and we're going to get some directions here. And wow, you're in for a treat here, these first two paragraphs about working with new people. So get your pen and paper ready and take some notes here. I want you to highlight and underline and make note of what we're how we're told to do this. So it says on page 90, when you discover a prospect, that's a sponsee for Alcoholics Anonymous, find out all you can about him. So let's stop right there. Find out all you can about him. So what does that mean? That means, okay, I'm going to ask. I just accepted a new sponsee yesterday, and we had a long talk, and we did steps 1, 2, and 3 this morning. And yesterday, when we talked, I asked him, he did 90% of the talking because I'm finding out about him. I said, where were you born and raised? Where do you live now? How old are you? Are you married? Do you have children? What do you do for a living? When did you start drinking? When did it start being a problem? What is the nature of your problem now? How is your alcoholism causing trouble for you in your life? And so on and so forth. And I've just found out as much as I could about him. And that's how I can help him. And that's how God is helping me. He's teaching me to be a good listener, to learn about other people, understand other people, so that I can be more useful and helpful to other people. That's why God got me sober, keeps me sober, so that I can be helpful to other people. And the way for me to be helpful is to find out all about this new sponsee prospect and then apply the tools from the program, which is the 12 steps. And we started that today. And there's some more awesome suggestions coming up, but this is the first thing you do. So the first thing you do, here we go. Let's break it down. We know that we need to ensure immunity, stay sober. I need to be working with other alcoholics. And it says, perhaps, remember on the previous page, you're not acquainted with any drinkers who want to recover. Well, go to a meeting, go to an AA meeting, and you'll find drinkers who want to recover. So that's people to work with. So now it says when you discover a prospect. So now I found somebody to work with at the meeting because they raised their hand and said, hey, I need help during the fellowship, during the parking lot in between. I'm looking for a sponsor, or just in regular conversation. I do this all the time. I ask them, say, do you have a sponsor? And if they say no, I say, would you like a sponsor? Are you ready to take the 12 steps? Do you want to talk? And a lot of times they say, yes, I do want a sponsor. So we exchange numbers and we talk offline. We leave the parking lot and we get on the phone and talk to each other, so that I've discovered a new prospect. And so I'm finding out all I can about him. So that's step 1, 2, and 3. Got it? Okay. So let's continue reading then. If he does not want to stop drinking, don't waste time trying to persuade him. So if it's somebody that's, iffy, don't waste your time with people that aren't really like serious about getting sober. It says you may spoil a later opportunity. So back then it says this advice is given for his family also. So a lot of times when you were finding somebody, when you found somebody to work with, you'd go see them at their house. This is back in the 30s. You'd go to their house and meet their whole family. So you just tell his family too, if the person, his or her, tell their family, if they're not really serious about getting sober, don't waste your time trying to convince them. I'm telling you, oh, you should no, they have to be willing. And so you're advising his family or her family, they should be patient, realizing they're dealing with a sick person. Okay. So this next paragraph is so good. And I overlooked this. I've been sober almost 14 years, and I just started doing this. I just saw this for the first time about 3 months ago. Check this out. If there is any indication that he wants to stop, so you're dealing with a sponsee that does want to quit drinking, have a good talk. I want you to highlight and underline this. Have a good talk with the person most interested in him, usually his wife. I do this. I just did this with this new person. I said, tell me, who is the most affected by your alcoholism? Which relationship? Who's getting the brunt of your untreated alcoholism? So I ask, is it a husband or a wife? Is it a child? Is it a best friend? Is it a coworker? Who is it? Who are you really messing up by your active alcoholism? And so here's what you do. You get a hold of that person, get their name and number, and contact them. Whoops. Sorry about that. And it says, get an idea of his behavior, his problems, his background, the seriousness of his condition, and his religious leanings. You need this information to put yourself in his place, to see how you would like him to approach you if the tables were turned. And again, this is God training me to be a good listener and understand other people and be helpful to others. And the only way for me to be really helpful is to know as much as I can. So I found out all I can about him, remember in the previous paragraph, from him. Now I'm talking to the person who's most affected by his alcoholism, and they're going to give me the full lowdown. It's like, oh yeah, he does this, he does that. His attitude is this and that, and his actions are this and that. And you learn all about him and ask, what kind of faith base does he have or she, et cetera, et cetera. So this is something that I had been overlooking all these years. And that's why I'm so grateful for this opportunity to study this book together with a group, with you right here, right now, so that you can do this too. You won't overlook this. Next time you're working with a new sponsee, ask them. Say, hey, who can I talk to about you? You told me about yourself. I want to hear it from another person too. It'll help me be more useful to you and the rest of your relationships and the rest of the people in your life. So that's pretty awesome, isn't it? Is there anybody here that is seeing this for the first time? So you're like, wow, I didn't realize that. I could actually talk to, in addition to the sponsee, other people affected by the sponsee. Wow. It's just amazing, isn't it? Mike, come on in and share it with us.
Yeah, thanks, Mike Alcoholic. Yeah, it was. I'm sure I've heard it before. I just didn't want to hear it. But yeah, I've been hearing that. I've been actually going out of my way to spot it with other people if they let because my partner doesn't want anything to do with the program. I mean, it I can't do anything to change that. I can't change other people. And, but, I don't think there would be a problem with swapping numbers just should there be issues or, questions that need to be answered, things like that. And, yeah, I think it's kind of a scary prospect in my mind, because then you can't really get away with shit that way. Somebody's gonna know the truth on either side. So whether it's the sponsor or the one most affected by the alcoholism. So but if you can get past it and you can make that commitment to make that connection with the two sides, the recovery and then your regular life, then I think it shows a really strong willingness. And that's where I am now. So I'm happy for that. So yeah, that's all I got. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Glad you're here. Thanks for sharing with us. Hi, Kelly. Come on in.
Hi. So for me, I just got this idea of it's fun. It's like tag, you know. But for me, like I'm just understanding that I really need to know about these things myself, simplify what my problems are, what my background is, how serious the condition is, and how I lean into a higher power. Like the more I work on those things in my daily uh, way of living, those are like really good strengths, to show somebody that it's working. And like that's joyful, like that's exciting. um I feel like, yeah, it's like a game of tag, like now I got you, and or red rover, like come on, you're on our team now, and pumped up. And they call that veal or whatever, but it's God showing me that, look, you can celebrate the the wreckage of your life. It's like a new rebirth, and you get to share that with others. And it is the why I'm here. And that's a sweet, gentle, kind feeling, to be able to say I'm well with my soul, and my responsibility is to keep learning, because every time I do study, I get an experience where I find out more about how much I'm loved and how I affect and send out, the message, that we can all be hopeful, and it's all good no matter where you're at, and we can work through these things. But yeah, I like this. It's like tag. I'm having fun. I'm gonna help you because I understand myself and how the disease works.
Great. Okay.
So I have, yeah.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you.
Kelly. Thanks for sharing with us. So yeah, we're making great progress here in this chapter 7, working with others. Let's just make some notes here on the instructions we're learning. Number 1 is we need to work with other alcoholics and carry this message to other alcoholics. That was in the first paragraph. Second paragraph is a promise that comes true. Our life will take on new meaning, like Kelly keeps talking about. We keep growing and getting more comfortable and just feeling at peace in our soul. Things are good. Life is good. It's a bright spot in our lives, working with others. So we need to carry the message. And so the third paragraph told us we need to find drinkers who want to recover. And so we decided that going to meetings is probably the best way to do that. We also learned that it's our own drinking experience that makes us so valuable and effective at this task, at this role that our higher power has assigned to us, our own drinking experience. So we've found a drinker who wants to recover. Then at the top of page 90, next instruction, it says, once you discover this person, find out all you can about him. So we let them talk, we listen, and we pay attention to what they're saying. we're not thinking about, while they're telling us about themselves, we're not thinking about how we're going to respond and what we're going to say and do. We're listening and learning. We're learning all we can about him. And then the next instruction is to find out more about that person that you're sponsoring by speaking to the person most affected by their alcoholism. So that's where we're at in the process. So let's continue with the instructions here for working with others. Love it. It's pretty simple so far, you got to admit. I haven't come across anything too difficult to understand yet, and I don't think anyone else in the room has either. So next paragraph, middle of page 90, it says, sometimes it is wise to wait till he goes on a binge. The family may object to this, but unless he is in a dangerous physical condition, it is better to risk it. Don't deal with him when he's very drunk, unless he's ugly and the family needs your help. So again, this is back in the day when we actually had to go to people's houses and meet their families and hunt down people to work with, Thank goodness we have it so easy now. We just go to a meeting and, they're instead of using a line, they call it a line and hook, fishing like they had to do back then. We have net. It's called a AA meeting, a net. The fish are just showing up, just pull them right onto the boat. So it says, wait for the end of the spree, or at least for a lucid interval. Then let his family or a friend ask him if he wants to quit for good and if he would go to any extreme to do so. So what they're saying is, look, if the guy is still on the fence about wanting to quit drinking or not, and maybe I'm an alcoholic, maybe I'm not, and things aren't quite bad enough, they say, let him go out and get trashed again. Hopefully he'll hit bottom hard enough that he'll decide that he does want to quit for good. And it's usually a slow process, isn't it? I mean, think of your own experience, life was getting tough. You were, alcoholism was starting to rear its ugly head and causing a lot of difficulty, but wasn't quite bad enough to quit, but it was pretty bad. And it just gets worse and worse and worse. And so that's what they're talking about here. One of these times he's going to hit bottom. So it's going to be he'll make the decision that, yes, I'm willing, and this has got to stop. I need help. That's what you're looking for. Somebody that really, the more desperate, the better. Okay. Because the more difficulty they're having, and the more they're begging for help, the better the chances of success. No doubt about that. Hi, Kelly, come on in.
Hi. So it came to me, that desperate condition, we understand that in alcoholism. That's why it's so important to work with others, being reminded of where my lowest, wickedest desperation was, my heart and soul like grieved to want to know what my purpose in life was, and I was just lost and self-destructive. And today I'm different. I've changed. That spirit of hope as a childlike person, and love, like really love for others, and being patient, that when naturally, organically, people come into my lives, I'm prepared to understand what I've gone through, how it works. And that's fun. I like it. It's a growth process, and I just have to be willing to, accept it. And like Lindsay said, just work the fear out of it. I'm a self-centered person, and I just want to be, I want the help, but I'm getting the help because I understand that they're desperate, and I can help them see something better in life. That's nice. I like that. Thanks for sharing this.
Thanks, Kelly. And so what I'm hearing here, like Kelly's telling her story, and what a wonderful way for you to help other people who have gone through what you've gone through, or going through what you've gone through, and you're getting the results of the program, and you can share that. You're sharing it with us. You could share that with these new people that you work with, and everybody wins. It's just a beautiful thing. So that's what this program is all about, carrying the message, helping other people, and it helps us in the process. This is our spiritual growth, steps 10, 11, and 12. Come on in, Mike.
Yeah, thanks again, Mike. Alcoholic. Just wanted to add, there is something to be said for trying to find a sponsor with a similar, as close to a similar experience or a history, I would say, maybe with their use, their alcohol and drug abuse, specifically, so if you hear somebody share in a AA meeting that they're also part of another fellowship that you are also in, or struggle with as well, I don't care if it's Overeaters Anonymous or Marijuana Anonymous or something like that. And then also, I think I just realized that a couple of my most previous sponsors didn't have relapse as a part of their story. And congrats to them, or anybody that could do that. Not my experience. And now I think more than ever, I do see an importance of finding somebody that understands that, because I'm seeing that it's important, that understanding between me and my sponsor. So I'm going to have to probably get a new sponsor just for that, simply, but that's kind of where I am. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you, Mike. And thank you for bringing up an excellent subject. Okay, so we haven't read, so for some of us, it doesn't say anywhere in what we've read so far that you need to work with other people that have a similar background to yours. They should be roughly your age. They should have your marital status. They should have children if you have children. They should work in the same field. They should be cross-addicted drugs and alcohol if you were. It doesn't say that at all. But for some, it might be important to seek out a sponsor or a sponsee that does have a similar background. It does not say that in the book. So we do not need to be or seek someone with a similar background. The alcoholism itself is the similarity, the only similarity that's required. Alcoholism. And we learned all about alcoholism in the doctor's opinion and in Bill's story. And in chapter 2, there is a solution. And in chapter 4, we agnostics, we learned all about, about the alcoholism. It was Bill's story, chapter 2 and chapter 3, and the doctor's opinion. That's where we learned all about it. So that's our common thread. That's all you need. If you're an alcoholic, you can help another alcoholic, regardless of your background. But if you choose, if you think it would be more effective to have a sponsor or a sponsee with a similar background, by all means, that works for you. There's no one size fits all. There is no right or wrong. So it's whatever works for, it has to work for both parties, the sponsor and the sponsee. So whatever's comfortable. But it doesn't specifically say in here that we have to have similar backgrounds. Okay, thank you, Mike. You brought up an excellent point. Okay, so it says, assuming this person decides that, okay, this has got to stop, and he's willing to go to any extreme to do so, he wants to quit drinking for good. If he says yes, then his attention should be drawn to you as a person who has recovered. It's like, okay, I can help you. Check this out. You should be described to him as one of a fellowship who, as part of their own recovery, try to help others, and who will be glad to talk to him if he cares to see you. So that's how we present ourselves as sponsors. I just let them know I've recovered from alcoholism. I'm part of a 12-step program. It's called Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a fellowship. And part of my recovery out in that 12-step process, step 12, is trying to help others. And I'll be happy to help you. Let me tell you all about it. So that's all this is. When somebody wants help, the AA responsibility pledge is I am responsible. It says, when anyone anywhere reaches out for help, I want the hand of AA always to be there. And for that, I am responsible. That's the official AA responsibility pledge. And that's our responsibility as recovered alcoholics. When somebody reaches out for help, almost brings me to tears thinking about it. Wow. I want to help. I want to help. So that's what we do. That's why we do this. Okay. So we're all good. So far, so good. Pretty straightforward. Learning a lot here. Just reinforcing this step 12 for us, what it's all about. So we're going to go ahead and continue then on the bottom paragraph on page 90. It says, if he does not want to see you, never force yourself upon him. Neither should the family hysterically plead with him to do anything, nor should they tell him much about you. They should wait for the end of his next drinking bout. So again, we're dealing with somebody here who's bouncing along the bottom, swirling around the drain, but hasn't quite hit bottom yet. It says you might place this book where he can see it in the interval. Here, no specific rule can be given. It says the family must decide these things, but urge them not to be over anxious, for that might spoil matters. So again, don't waste your time with people that haven't hit bottom and aren't willing to go to any lengths. It all goes right back to, the beginning of chapter 5, how it works on page 58. If you've decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you're ready to take certain steps. It's that simple. So, if he hasn't decided he wants what we have and is not willing to go to any lengths to get it, don't waste your time. That's what they're saying. So next, it says, usually the family should not try to tell your story. Again, this is back in the day when you were going to their house. It says, when possible, avoid meeting a man through his family. It says, approach through a doctor or an institution is a better bet. Nowadays, we just meet these people one-on-one. If your man needs hospitalization, he should have it, but not forcibly unless he is violent. Let the doctor, if he will, tell him he has something in the way of a solution. So again, this is kind of old, out-of-date stuff. Not sure how applicable this is nowadays, but hey, Kelly, come on in and think.
Hi, Kelly, recovering alcoholic. So I see here what I need to do. It's giving my number out, being ready and prepared with where I can show them that they can find freedom and release from, this disease, how to work things, change things, where to find the information. So yeah, it's like I've heard a lot of people say, yeah, I've given them a book. Right away when I came in, a wonderful woman, Avis, she connected me with a place that they freely supply the books. So I got the Living Sober book, I got the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, and the big book. And I didn't use it, and I didn't, but now when I do, it's wonderful. And then, okay, so my higher power, the acceptance I get that I'm doing the right thing, and knowing that he's pleased with me, builds a spirit inside me that was missing. And, I want to do my best every day, not my will. So that's a challenge, but it's a beautiful thing to interact with people who are also suffering, so we can get through life and have a good life together. And I just want to be ready. And thank you for sharing this information. It'll help somebody someday.
All right. Thanks, Kelly, for sharing with us. Yeah, just remember what this is all about. We are tools in God's spiritual toolkit that he uses to bring his will to earth as it is in heaven. He wants us to help other people make the world a better place. So he's equipped us to do that. We're alcoholics. We can help other alcoholics. That's what our higher power wants us to do. So again, there's, these are kind of old, out of date paragraphs on, interacting with the sponsee and their family when you had to go hunt them down, instead of, we have it so easy now. And here's another example. This paragraph 91, the second paragraph says, when your man is better, the doctor might suggest a visit from you. It says, though you have talked with the family, leave them out of the first discussion. Under these conditions, your prospect will see he is under no pressure. So you don't want to make people feel pressured. You want him to be comfortable. He'll feel he can deal with you without being nagged by his family. Call on him while he is still jittery. He may be more receptive when depressed. So again, you want to catch people when they're, hitting bottom and feeling like crap and realizing that, hey, this has got to stop. I just can't do this anymore. This has got to stop. So you want somebody, the more desperate, the better. It's called the gift of desperation. And I had it on a very large scale. And I mean a large scale. And I'm still here. Relapse, Mike was talking about it. Relapse isn't part of my story either. I have one sobriety date, May 18, 2011. Haven't had a drink since. And it's because I've stayed plugged into my higher power in this program. That's the only reason. It has nothing to do with me. It's all about God and AA. And I do this 12-step work. I carry the message. It's remarkable, the results. So we're going to go to the next paragraph on page 91. Now this is where you need your pen and paper and highlighter. These are specific instructions. Remember, we learned on the previous page, find out all you can about him, have a good talk with the person most interested in him. This is a continuation of learning, working with the other person. It says, see your man alone, if possible. So it's you and your sponsee. At first, engage in general conversation. So you're just having a chit chat back and forth, general conversation. These are the directions. These are instructions here. It says, after a while, so you've been talking a while, turn the talk to some phase of drinking. And what do? It says, tell him enough about your drinking habits, symptoms, and experiences to encourage him to speak of himself. So we turn the conversation after we've been chatting for a while into our, results of our drinking and what it did to us, all the problems it was causing us. It was like, I started making really crappy decisions. I was not showing up for work. My wife was starting to really get on my case. I was an irresponsible father. My bills piling up that I kept blowing off. I had assignments and tasks that I just was blowing off. I was doing really stupid things. I was lying to my wife. And the more I drank, I just couldn't get that good buzz anymore. I tried and drank more and more, so on and so forth. I just tell him about myself. And then the more his mental inconsistencies match mine, the better, our working together is going to be. And you want the person to start thinking, oh yeah, me too. Like I was trying to get that perfect buzz that used to be so awesome, and I just couldn't do it anymore. So I drank a little more, and I drank more, and I drank more, and my life was just getting worse and worse and worse over time, and my problems were piling up on me. And it was like, wow, my wife threatened to leave me, divorce me. And so, people will realize they have a similar experience. And once I start, I can't stop. I realized I couldn't live with alcohol anymore. It's messing my life up, but I couldn't live without it because, how can I function without drinking? That's ridiculous. I'm not even going to think about that. And I was in a real pickle. I couldn't live with it. I couldn't live without it. It was destroying my life. And physically, oh my gosh, the physical ramifications were horrible. So just start telling the person about your drinking experience, and then they'll be chiming in with their own when things match up. And they'll say, oh yeah, me too. This is what happened to me. This is kind of what, I have the same experience, and so on and so forth. So this is how we do it. This is how we work with others. So we encourage them to speak of themselves. It says, if he wishes to talk, he or she, of course, let them do so. You will thus get a better idea of how you ought to proceed. So this again goes back to finding out about them and getting an idea of what they're all about, and how you can be helpful to them. And understanding and relating is good. So some people, have a very impersonal sponsor-sponsee relationship where it's, strictly business, go through the steps. And other people prefer a more intimate relationship. I mean, it's not like you're going to become besties and, start hanging out in person and doing everything together and all that. But a lot of people want to connect on a deeper level with the sponsor-sponsee. And again, that's between you and your sponsees. If that's what they're looking for and you can't provide that, then no harm, no foul. But if they're looking for a deep relationship with somebody they can really feel connected to, on a spiritual level, and you want that too, by all means, that's very healthy. That's a good thing. So either way, it's whatever it needs to work for both people. Hey, Kelly, come on in.
Hi, Kelly again. Alcoholic. Right now in my life where I'm at, I tell everybody about the zuku.org. I'm like, this is a resource. This is just look at these people every day, how dedicated and how open and vulnerable and honest they are about what they went through. They got off that train, and they know their destination now. They know how to manage, and they're showing us the way. That they are meeting up. They're having other communications about other life things that we have to work through. And if I want to participate, I'm just going to ask God to keep showing me that they're there. We're not a glum lot, that celebrating sobriety is a victory, and it's so wonderful. And we can do that. And like just the zoo crew, everybody that shows up and does the service and participating. I mean, what a wonderful community. The fellowship, the unity. That's joy. And I'm gonna soak it in. And just give that message that there are people, communities globally who understand the disease and how to have relief from it. Jane.
Okay, thanks, Kelly. So, okay, let's continue with the directions here. So we're talking about ourselves, and then they start talking about themselves. So now you got a real good dialogue going back and forth. You're getting to know each other. That's what relationships are. That's what we do with our higher power through prayer and meditation, talk and listen to our higher power. Same thing here. We're talking and listening with our sponsee. It's that simple. It says, if he's not communicative, give him a sketch of your drinking career up to the time you quit. but say nothing for the moment of how that was accomplished. So you just tell them about your drinking history. You don't tell them all about the 12 steps and your spiritual awakening and all the tools of the program. He doesn't want to hear all that, or she. So you just explain your drinking history up to the point where you quit, so you get their attention, because we meet them where they're at. That's the simple way of rephrasing this. I'm paraphrasing now. Meet your sponsee where they're at, and if they're at the end of their drinking, not anywhere, can't even fathom what recovery is, don't try to tell them all about recovery. You're wasting your time. You're going to irritate them. That's why he's telling us, it says, say nothing. So again, these instructions are do's and don'ts. So it says, here's what we do. We engage in general conversation. We turn the talk to some phase of drinking. We do tell him enough about our drinking habits, symptoms, and experiences to encourage him to speak of himself. And then we do, if he wishes to talk, let him do so. All right. And if he's not communicative, okay, we do give him a sketch of our drinking career up to the time we quit. We do not say anything about how we recovered, about the 12 steps and our spiritual awakening and all of that. So we're just drawing the line. We're meeting them where they're at. Okay. If he is in a serious mood, dwell on the troubles liquor has caused you, because that's where he or she is at. When they're at the point where liquor is causing them trouble. So explain your experience with alcohol and alcoholism up to the point where it was causing you trouble before you recovered. Being careful not to moralize or lecture. So we're not lecturing, we're just explaining our experience. Just tell your story. It's that simple. If his mood is light, tell him humorous stories of your escapades. Get him to tell some of his. So that's what we're trying to develop, some rapport here and some understanding. One alcoholic who understands another alcoholic. And here's what will happen. It says, when he sees that you know all about the drinking game, because everybody in this room sure does. I know you do. I do, and you do. We do. We know all about it, don't we? It says, commence to describe yourself as an alcoholic. Tell him how baffled you were, how you finally learned that you were sick. Give him, so man, let's stop right there. You want to talk about sick. I'm going to try to get through this without crying. When I went, I cried myself to sleep for about 2 years. I mean, when I looked in the mirror at night before I went to bed, I just saw this absolutely hideous, soul sickened, just disgusted, depressed. It was horrific. I was so sad. I was being dominated by drugs and alcohol, and there wasn't a thing I could do about it. It was choking the life out of me, and it was my spirit. It was a soul sickness. Indescribably bad. It was absolutely horrific. Come on in, Loretta, and share with us. Hi, welcome.
Thank you, Clyde, for joining the meeting. I could definitely identify with the tail end of my drinking career. I mean, it lasted for 30 years. No one could help me. I had accepted the fact that I drink, and I chose to be alone. So I moved away from the family and the children, in Florida, and I went to upstate New York to try to be around my blood family. That didn't work either. But anyway, towards the end there, I mean, I didn't get depressed over it. I just accepted the fact that this is who I am. However, when the children's daddy passed away and my middle son was very distressed about a lot of things, that was the turning point for me. After 30 years, I was able to put down that last drink. It's only by the grace of God, because nobody could help. I got a baby sister in California, 26 years sober. Nobody could help me. Yeah, I just accepted who I am, and I just put everything in God's hands, and I said, okay, I'm done. You know, I just do the best I can in life, and that was it. So, if I can help anybody else, that's great. But right now, I'm just keeping my side of the street clean. Thank you very much for letting me share. Peace out.
Thank you, Loretta. Thanks for sharing with us. And we're glad you're on the recovery train. It's great news. Looks like you're coming up on 2 years here. That's awesome. It's a great start. So, okay. So it says, tell him how baffled you were, how you learned that you were sick. Now, where did we find that word sick before? Earlier in the book, remember? And it said, when the spiritual malady is overcome, we straighten out physically and mentally. That was in the 4th step, remember? And it's a spiritual malady, this alcoholism. We are blocking our higher power in being trapped in self-will. And it is a really sad and sickening thing. And so the isolation, the despair, the hopelessness, oh my gosh, it was a nightmare. So it says, give him an account of the struggles you made to stop. So as much as I knew I needed to stop, I just couldn't even fathom doing that. Show him the mental twist, which leads, we're getting more instructions here. Show him the mental twist, which leads to the first drink of a spree. So here's what they tell us. We suggest you do this as we have done it in the chapter on alcoholism. That's chapter 3. Chapter 3, more about alcoholism. Read that chapter. That's the one that has the examples with the carpet slippers and the bottle. The guy who'd stayed sober for 25 years. It has our friend Jim, the guy that put the whiskey in his milk. The jaywalkers in there. Fred, the American businessman. It goes into great detail on the mental. It talks about the mental twist. It's all, that's what chapter 3 is about, the insanity of our thinking. It says, if he's an alcoholic, he will understand you at once. He will match your mental inconsistencies with some of his own. And again, that's before our minds had been restored to sanity. We still had an alcoholic mind back then, just like your sponsee does at this moment while you're working with him. So you're explaining to him, all about you and where you were at and what's going on, even though you knew I shouldn't do this. I just know if I take a drink, this isn't going to end well. It's going to start a big set of problems for me, but I still do it anyway. I just can't stop. So, okay. Let me see here. So let's go ahead and continue then. Everybody clear on what we're doing so far? Pretty cool stuff. I hope you have a renewed enthusiasm about the program and finding people to work with, alcoholics to work with. It really is. There's 2 reasons we do it. Number 1, because it's vital to our permanent recovery and it ensures immunity to us from drinking. That's a pretty darn important reason to do it. And the other is the benefits are amazing. It really does become a bright spot in our lives. It is a wonderful experience. It's amazing. So it's 2 reasons we do it. I hope you really it takes on new meaning for you. And I hope you get some people to work with and sponsor. Okay, so Next paragraph, next set of instructions here. It says, if you're satisfied he's a real alcoholic, and you'll know, you can just ask people right up front, say, are you sure you're an alcoholic? I mean, is there any doubt whatsoever? And most of the time, by the time you've talked to each other, they're going to say, oh, yeah, no doubt about it. So let's assume that's where this person's at. It says, if you're satisfied that he is a real alcoholic, begin to dwell on the hopeless feature of the malady. So, hopeless, what does that mean? That means things are really bad and there's no chance of them ever getting better. That's how we feel. When we're trapped in alcoholism and we're not aware of the 12 steps and the recovery process and a higher power that'll solve our problem, we are hopeless. On our own power, we are hopeless. Our life stinks. It's horrible, and it will never get better. It will not get better. That's the definition of hopeless. And that's exactly what will happen if we're stuck in self-will and we don't find a power greater than ourselves that can solve our problem. That's the hopeless feature of this malady. And it's that simple. It's that cut and dried. So you want to dwell on that. It says begin to dwell. So you want to make sure they understand. If you want to keep trying to beat this on your own with your own self-will, your own self-propulsion, your own willpower, your own self-knowledge, you are in a hopeless condition. It'll never get better. You're going to fail. And that is a fact. That's the bottom line. So you want to show him from your own experience how the queer mental condition surrounding that first drink prevents normal functioning of the willpower. So we can explain to him why your self-will isn't going to work. That queer mental condition. And that is, remember, the main, it told us earlier on about the main problem of the what does it say about centering in his mind? Let me go back to it. It's in the chapter 2, there is a solution. It says, therefore, the main problem of the alcoholic centers in his mind rather than in his body. And it's because we get obsessed and we crowd out. We want that ease and comfort. We just can't live without it. It crowds out every other idea. Even though we know the consequences are going to be horrible, our mind tells us, you know what? A couple of drinks are going to give you some ease and comfort. You're going to feel better. You know it. And we take that first drink. That's the bottom line. And it says that queer mental condition surrounding that first drink that prevents normal functioning of the willpower. Yeah, there's something wrong with the way we think, and we seek that ease and comfort from that drink, period. And once we take that drink, the phenomenon of craving kicks in, and we're off to the races. There's no stopping. Once we take it in, we can't stop the phenomenon of craving. So we want to explain all this to them. And you can even read it out of the doctor's opinion. In chapter 2, there is a solution. It says, don't at this stage refer to this book unless he has seen it and wishes to discuss it. And be careful. Okay, this is important. I never, ever do this. It says, do not brand him as an alcoholic. Let him draw his own conclusion. So we cannot call somebody else an alcoholic. Only they can do that. It's a self-diagnosed thing. Only I know if I'm an alcoholic, and only you know if you're an alcoholic. It's easy to get told us lots of examples of how to test and decide if we're an alcoholic. That's all spelled out earlier in the book. Very simple. Come on in, Jody.
Yes, Clyde, Jody, alcoholic. I have a question about what you just said, Clyde, about pointing out someone else's addiction. what if we know, I mean, we know without a doubt and from our own personal experience, and the person is someone that we're close to. How do we go about approaching that situation?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Jody.
Like you said that we can't, it's not our place to tell anyone that they're an alcoholic
Right.
and that they need help. So how would we go about that situation if it's someone immediate in our lives?
Oh, okay. So here's what I'm going to try to answer your question this way. So you're not showing up to be of service to this person as a recovered alcoholic so that you can help them recover and take them through the 12 steps. You're discussing this with someone, a loved one, as just a caring and interested party and seeing them get better. So you're wearing a different hat, you're performing a different role at that point. These are called interventions, what you're talking about. And I know people that have had this where their wife and the priest from their church and a couple of their best friends and a coworker showed up and said, "Hey, Richard, you've got a serious problem. You're an alcoholic. You need to stop. This has to stop. We need you to go to detox and rehab and then start going to AA or just go to AA, whatever the case may be." That's what you're talking about, an intervention. But that is not the way you show up to do a 12-step call and say, "Hey, you're an alcoholic here. We're going to fix you and help you get better by taking you through the 12 steps." That's the difference. So good. All right. So let's see here. We can go ahead and continue here. It says, be careful. Yeah, let him draw his own conclusion. So, it's easy enough. Yeah, they can try some controlled drinking. Just step into a bar room and, have a drink or two and then stop abruptly. And then don't go back for another, 30 days and try it again. You can try to control your drinking. If you can, maybe you're not an alcoholic. Another one is, in chapter 4, We Agnostics, it says, if when you honestly want to, you cannot quit entirely, or, once you start, you can't control the amount, you have little control over the amount you take, you're probably an alcoholic. There's different ways to be able to tell if you're an alcoholic. So it says, if he sticks to the idea that he can still control his drinking, tell him that possibly he can. I've had people come to me and I've sent them off. Said, okay, go ahead and try it. Try some controlled drinking. It says if he's not too alcoholic. So it is possible. Sometimes these people actually can, and most of the time, though, they fail. They try to do the controlled drinking thing and they can't. So they really are alcoholic. It says, but insist that if he is severely afflicted, just let him know, hey, if you are really an alcoholic, there's little chance you can recover by yourself. So you're wasting your time if you think you're going to be able to just quit on your own. So go ahead and try some controlled drinking. If it works out for you, great. If not, you're not going to be able to quit on your own if you're a real alcoholic. So, okay, that was a lot. We covered a lot of instructions this week. We're going to call it good at that point in the book. Middle of page 92. I hope you've learned a lot about how to interact with your sponsees, and I hope you have a renewed interest in working with sponsees, and I hope you get your name and number out there and get some people who want to recover that you can work with. You'll love it, and so will they. So that's all the time we have for today. I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up for us. It says, thank you, everyone, for coming to the Cousin Jonathan and Clyde the Rocketman Big Book Study. We meet every Sunday at 2 o'clock to 3:30 Eastern in this room. This podcast will be available by this Friday. Join us on Telegram for updates. So Big Book, page 164. It says, our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation what you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order, but obviously you cannot transmit something you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. By the way, so abandoning yourself to God as you understand God is steps 1, 2, and 3. Admit your faults to him and your fellows is step 4 and 5. And clear away the wreckage of your past is steps 8 and 9. Okay. So it says, give freely of what you find and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. So let's go ahead and close this meeting with the Lord's Prayer. Let's have a moment of silence, and then we'll all come in together. You can unmute yourselves, and we'll recite the Lord's Prayer together. So who woke us up this morning and brought us together for this great meeting?
Our Father,
Father,
who art in
who art in
heaven,
heaven,
hallowed be
hallowed
thy
be thy
name.
name.
Thy
Thy
kingdom
kingdom
come,
come,
thy
thy
will
will
be
be
done,
done
on earth
on
as
earth
it is in
as it
heaven.
is in heaven.
Give us
Give
this
us
day
this
our
day our
This
daily
daily
day
bread,
our
bread,
daily bread,
and forgive us
and
our
forgive us our
trespasses,
as we
as
forgive
we
those who
forgive those
as
who
we
trespass
forgive
against us.
trespass
those
against
who
us.
And lead us
trespass
not
Lead us
into
not into
temptation,
Lead
temptation,
us not
but
into
but
deliver us
from
from
evil.
temptation, and
For
deliver
thine
us
is the
from evil.
kingdom, the
the
power,
For
power,
thine
and
is
the
the
and the glory
glory
kingdom
forever
forever.
and
and
the
ever.
power and
Amen.
the glory forever.
Thank you,
Amen.
Clyde.
Right. Yeah, thank you. I'm going to
Mm.
stop the recording now.